Hello, hello. So today we are going to be doing 4.3. So that is going to be chapter 4, lesson 3. And today we're going to be introduced to probably every girl's favorite type of animal, the invertebrates. And so, boys, if you're looking for a birthday present to get a special someone, make sure you get them a nice, lovely invertebrate, because trust me, that'll win them over or get you slapped. So, good luck with that. Now, what is an invertebrate? Again, if you remember, an invertebrate is something that does not have a backbone. So they are cowards. No, but they don't have backbones. If you didn't understand that joke, it is because you are 11 or 12. Ask your parents. They will explain it to you, hopefully. Now, the crazy thing is that about 96% of animals are actually going to be invertebrates. So most animals do not have invertebrates, and they live in every single climate. Now, the first one we're going to introduce to, and these are the simplest ones, is we're going to be introduced to the sponges. And so, our friendly neighborhood, horribly drawn SpongeBob SquarePants is actually truly an animal. Okay, I'm getting way too into this. But yeah, he doesn't get any arms. I don't feel like it. I'll give him one arm. So sponges, which actually don't look like that at all, they look more something like this, are actually the first and simplest type of animals that we'll meet. But it does not mean that they do not have some pretty cool, unique, complex things about them. Now the whole thing is, if you remember, we talked about the different organizations of animals that went from cells to tissues to organ systems. Sponges actually stop right at cells. They actually don't have any tissues. They have little individualized, specialized cells that all kind of live together, and they all kind of do their own thing, but as they all do their own thing, they carry out a specific function. And how sponges actually eat is actually use, if you remember the flagellum, it's that little whip-like tail. They'll use these little whip-like tails to swirl up a current in the water, and they'll actually pull water in, so these are all supposed to be arrows. They'll pull water into the sponge. It has other cells that will absorb the little particles of food that it picks up through there, and then it spits out all the excess water through its main opening. And so when you're looking at a sponge's main opening, there's going to be a little current coming out of it very slowly as there's currents being pulled into the sponge. And these sponges, again, like I said, they get about as far down that chain as cells. They don't go past that. Now the next ones we're introduced to are our friends, the ones that scare a lot of people, the cnidarians. Now the cnidarians, again, if you want to sound smart in the party, do not call them cnidarians, because that's wrong. The C is silent because scientists hate you, and they want to make it as complicated as possible. But these are called the cnidarians. And the reason they're called the cnidarians is because they have they have something in common with all of them. They have these things called the stinging cells. And so this is going to be like your sea anemones, this is going to be your jellyfish, and these are little friends that they sting you. You can get a really good picture of a cnidarian on page 149. And these guys actually will have cells, and these cells can combine together to create tissues. So you'll have all these different multiple cells creating tissues, but they will not have organs, and if they don't have organs, then obviously they can't have organ systems, so that's about as complicated as these guys are going to get. And again, they're not going to have brains, because remember, brain's an organ, but they're going to be able to go all the way up to tissues. So that's cnidarians, and they're all grouped together by their stinging cells. Now, the next thing we're looking at, the next group is, ooh, I love these ones, the worms. And the worms are awesome. And there's three main groups of worms, or what we call the phyla of worms. And they're going to be your flatworms, they're going to be your roundworms, and they're going to be your segmented worms. When you're looking at your flatworms, again, you're going to really want to be looking at pictures of these guys. So this one's going to be on page 150. When you're looking at your flatworms, you're going to get ones called the planarians, and you can guess they are flat. The next ones you're going to get is your roundworms, and these aren't going to be like the earthworms that you find when it's raining on the sidewalk. These are, like I said, they are going to be roundworms. And they're going to be nice and smooth, and we'll actually look at a few in class, and they're really gross too. And these ones can also be parasites. These are friendly parasites. And then we get our segmented worms. worms, and these are going to be our earthworms. These are the ones that come up when it's raining. And the way you can tell it's a segmented worm is because, oh look, it has segments in it. And so if you were to zoom in on a worm, or even if you look close enough, you can see that it has little segments like this. And so those are the different types of worms. And they're actually the simplest animals with brains. So that's kind of cool. They do have brains, so be nice to them, because otherwise you're very mean. Now after that, we move on to the mollusks. And the mollusks are often protected by a hard shell, and they're gonna have unsegmented bodies. So they're not gonna. It's not like you get the segmented worm; you get more complex into segmented mollusks. But you're gonna have three different groups. You can either have the gastropods, you have the bivalves, or you can have the cephalopod. And I always like that name, cephalopod. So we're looking at the gastropods. This is going to be something like your snail, and they can have a shell. So if we look at our snail, they have their little head. They just move along. Or you can also have things like slugs that have no shell altogether. So you can also get slugs. So that's going to be your gastropods. Now the other type you're going to need is you get the bivalves. Remember, bi means two. So you can go right ahead and guess that this is going to be something like your clam. It's a horrible picture of a clam, but there's your clam, or your oyster, so it's got two parts to it. And then you're going to get your cephalopods. And these are going to be these cute little friends. Make sure I give them enough legs. Your octopus, or your squids, or your nautilus. And if you don't know nautilus, look it up. It's a pretty cool animal, and you might want to look on YouTube to see exactly how they're swimming. And these ones are going to have the largest brain out of all of them, because, sorry, slug, you're not that intelligent. I don't think insult any of you, but these guys are also going to have very large eyes. So, look, he's so adorable. That's so cute. So these are your mollusks, your gastropods, your bivalves, and your cephalopods. Now, the next one you run into is this always makes people shudder, the arthropods. It's such a scary name, huh? I'm going to throw some arthropods at you. Well, when I say arthropods, I can mean anything from throwing arachnids. And again, if you're still lost, oh my goodness, read a book sometime. But arachnids are going to be your spiders, or your scorpions. Ooh, you find those all around Las Vegas. You also, in arthropods, you can get your insects. As many of you know by now, a spider is not an insect. It's an arachnid. So, very simple. In layman's terms, let's call those our bugs. And then we're going to get our crustacean. So these are going to be like our lobsters, our crabs. So next time you're eating a lobster or any seafood like that, just remember how very closely related those guys are to spiders, just in case you're wondering. Now, what makes an arthropod an arthropod? Well, they're going to have something really cool called an exoskeleton. And they have no internal skeleton. Exo means outside. Another way to remember it is just exit. Because when you exit, you're going on the outside. So on the outside of all of these, spider, bugs, and crabs, and lobsters, they're going to have a hard outside, and on the inside it's going to be soft material. And again, if anybody's ever eaten lobster, you know you have to crack it open, and then it's just goo on the inside. Delicious goo, mind you, but just like with these guys, it's going to be the exact same thing. They're also going to have segmented body parts. So when you look at a spider, you look at his legs, and they're actually going to be like this, in each of its own little segments, like that. Bugs will do the same thing. Let's take a look at an ant. So again, you have its thorax, you have the head region, you have its abdomen. You're going to notice that, yes, they all have different segments. Same thing with the lobsters. And so they're all going to be built on different segments. And so there's my horrible, horrible spider. He's so scary with his many eyes. So again, they're going to be segmented, and they're also going to have exoskeletons. Now, the next one we're going to run into is we're going to run into the echinoderms. And by next, I mean last one that we're going to talk about today, because remember, we're only talking about the invertebrates, is we're looking at the echinoderms. Okay, an echinoderm is an invertebrate that has an internal skeleton and a system of fluid-filled tubes. So they're not going to have a hard skeleton like we do, but they will have a skeleton on the inside. And when you have a skeleton on the inside, we don't call it an inside skeleton or an in skeleton. We call it an endo skeleton. So this endo is going to be inside. And it's not going to be hard like ours. Instead, it's going to be fluid-filled tubes. And everyone always has the hardest time remembering echinoderms. It's one of the hardest ones. But these are going to be your sea urchins. These little prickly things coming out of it. These are going to be your sea stars. These are going to be your brittle stars. These are the ones that look a lot like sea stars. Very closely related. Okay, and they're going to be your sea cucumbers. It kind of looks like a cucumber, but no, it is not like the kind of cucumber you eat in a salad. So their special characteristics is they're gonna have those fluid-filled tubes. They're gonna introduce you to the endoskeleton. And so again, this is the basics of the invertebrate group, and of course we'll go over this a lot more in class. But this is just for basics, understanding, and for review. So if you have any questions, feel free to email me. And until then, I'll talk to you later. All right, bye. Well, let's see.